Whenever I engage with Rudyard Lynch, I want to talk up Marx. But whenever I try to engage with actual Marxists on YouTube, I wind up puking. Marx's insights into the inevitability of certain societal transformations, such as the evolution of the state into society and the eventual decline of war and property due to technological progress, hold merit. But much of his broader theory is flawed. One of the most glaring issues with Marx's vision is his advocacy for dictatorship and his approval of violent methods, like the Red Terror, as tools for revolution. The historical failure of Marxism in most countries is a direct consequence of these missteps. Marx's admiration for Robespierre's reign of terror, an effort to remake society through violence, is morally questionable and strategically flawed. Revolutionary terror destroys the society it seeks to rebuild, creating a culture of fear, paranoia, vengeance, and hate, which prevents the effective formation of state power and the transformation of human relations into peaceful, productive harmony. Marx's fixation on class struggle and his belief that the world would polarize into just two distinct classes, proletariat and bourgeoisie, has also proven incorrect. The middle class, rather than disappearing, has expanded in many parts of the world. His prediction that urban revolutions would erupt first in the most developed capitalist countries, driven by ever-increasing economic crises and business cycles, simply did not materialize. Instead, revolutions inspired by Marxist thought occurred in less developed regions, like Russia and China, rather than in the industrialized West, which is exactly the opposite of what Marx predicted. Economically, Marx misapprehended several key concepts. His dismissal of supply and demand as the central organizing principle of markets, his misunderstanding of how supply and demand influence capital formation, his neglect of the time value of money, and willful blindness to the obvious role of self-interest in market transactions reveal serious weaknesses in his economic theory. Additionally, Marx underestimated the value of managerial inputs, the decisions about what goods to produce, how much, and how to market and distribute them. These processes are vital in any economy and cannot be dismissed as unproductive or parasitic, as Marx held. One of the greatest failures of Marxist economic theory is its misunderstanding of human nature. Marxism assumes that people can be motivated to work not by self-interest, but by some form of altruism or collective spirit. However, economic systems that ignore or suppress individual incentives inevitably falter because they overlook the human tendency to act in one's own self-interest. This is why Marxist economies, wherever implemented, have struggled to compete with market-based economies. Marx's failure to account for self-interest resulted in economic stagnation, inefficiency, and a lack of innovation in Marxist states. While Marx was correct in his analysis of dialectical materialism, understanding history as a series of conflicts driven by material conditions, and in recognizing that societies evolve based on their modes of production, he was fundamentally wrong about exploitation. Exploitation is not the norm in modern economies, but rather the exception. Modern capitalist economies, through competition, innovation, and regulation, have shown that exploitation is inefficient. Just as dictatorship, an essential component of Marxist theory, inevitably leads to oppression and economic inefficiency, an economy based on Marx's flawed assumptions also fails. Lenin's conspiratorial elite vanguard party governed by democratic centralism might be an effective way to seize state power, but it fails at governance, once in power. Marx's contributions to historical analysis and his recognition of the role of material conditions in shaping society are valuable, but his economic and political theories, especially his belief in the inevitability of revolution and dictatorship, have been thoroughly discredited by history. In the end, Marxism's failure stems from its fundamental misunderstanding of human nature, economic principles, and the complex realities of social evolution.